Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, two avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Men for the Win is sponsored by the Grand Group with Edina Realty. Are you looking to purchase a new home in the Twin Cities area? Or perhaps you're trying to sell your current home? Whether you're upsizing or downsizing, the Grand Group with Edina Realty will meet all of your housing needs. Contact the Grand Group by emailing thegran, that's G-R-A-N, group, at edinarealty.com, or call them by phone at 612-817-8751. The Grand Group with Edina Realty, 7-time Minneapolis-St. Paul Magazine Super Agent Award winners.
Men for the Win is part of the Pulltab Sports Network, covering sports, culture, and entertainment across the Midwest. Check them out at pulltabsports.com and give them a follow on all your social media platforms at Pulltab Sports. On this episode, David and Dan recap the Twins' 3-game series against the Athletics from somewhere. Thanks for listening. Enjoy. Thanks for tuning in to Men for the Win. My name is David Kufis. With me, as always, is Dan Thompson. The Twins get swept by the A's from somewhere. Still don't know where, but they played in Target Field, so we don't have to really discuss their location all that much, Dan. But
That's in North Dakota.
Perfect for you, David. You don't have to talk about where we are. That's fantastic.
This was a tough one, Dan, and it's one thing knowing that watching these games the rest of the season is going to be hard. It's another thing when the baseball is this hard to watch, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Twins are a bad baseball team now, but they played with just, I don't know, not a lot of heart. And you look at a team like the A's that have been bad all year, haven't been to the, maybe they just have more hope because they got guys like Nick Kurtz on their team. That probably helps when you got a guy with an OPS over 1,000. But yeah, uninspiring. They're at home. Like, this is not the way to ingratiate what fans they have left, I think, by playing this poorly at Target Field.
Are there fans left, Dan? Are you convinced there's still fans of this baseball team?
Yeah, I think the bandwagon ones are just the louder ones. Like they want to, like, as they leap off of the bandwagon, they want to like shout and kick and scream a little bit. I think that's what's happening.
So, speaking of Twins fandom, Dan, I was at the State Fair today, opening day. I always go with my dad. It's a long-standing tradition. And we took our nephews with us today, and my sister went. It was a whole thing. And my brother-in-law. It was a fun time. But I noticed there was a good amount of Twins T-shirts and jerseys and all that. And I was like, either this is just the shirt that you have, or you're not following the team closely. That's my perspective, Dan, because it's like, what are you doing wearing this team's emblem proudly on your chest?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like those Dairy Queen free hats that everybody had back in the 90s. Like, oh, you got one, and you don't want to wear your best hat to the fair, right? You don't want to get it all sweaty and things like that. So how do you mitigate that, by the way, with hats? Do your hats get sweaty at the State Fair? Do you wear a lesser hat? Are you afraid of ruining one there?
No, yeah, I typically wear a dark color hat if I can help it. Or certain hats, depending on the fabric on the front, really matters, and the color of the bill can be a big thing because you're constantly touching and adjusting your hat throughout the day, and so you're going to get that spot where your finger goes, and so you got to be real careful with your hat choice, Dan.
When can we start our fashion podcast,
David?
That'll be
Dan, I don't think I could get one episode out of that. So, Dan, normally when I'm at the fair, though, anytime I see somebody, like, not wearing the Dairy Queen hat, right? Because some people are just, that's just the hat they have, right? But, like, if they're wearing a Twins shirt or a jersey, like, and they're within sort of our age bracket of people who are normally going to listen and know what podcasts are, I'll give them a sticker, say, hey, check us out. Really difficult, Dan. Really difficult to do that right now. Like, hey, do you want to listen to a couple of guys talk about a team that has just broken your heart time and time again, and you're super mad at ownership? Here's something you should check out.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
There must be something, David, we can break. Well, let's try it here. We're about to jump in. Let's do the series recap. We'll find some magic.
Series recap.
Not going to find the magic in the baseball, though, here. Game 1, Athletics win this one 6-3. Joe Ryan, the Twin...
Fantastic line. Fantastic line, Dan Thompson.
Joe Ryan, the Twins' best pitcher and really the most reliable guy, maybe on the team aside from Buxton, does not have a great start. He goes just 4 innings. It's not all his fault. 6 hits, 5 runs. 2 of them are earned because Cody Clemens can't catch the ball at first base. Yeah. That leads to 3 runs in the 4th, kind of extends his inning. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Twins get a couple home runs from Brooks Lee and Ryan Jeffers, but just solo shots, so it's 6-2. Doesn't feel close. Ryan's piggyback today, or in this game, is Pearson Ole, who does his own part. He goes 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned earned run. There's an interesting article, I think it's on the Twins website by Matthew Beach, I believe, who's been their beat writer there, or Matthew Leach. But he was talking about how this is this is kind of an interesting experiment, seeing if you've got like 4 or 5 guys who can give you 4 innings, and they kind of just have cycled them through. So if you want to learn more about that, you can go ahead and find his article there. Jacob Lopez, not any of the Lopez's who pitched for the Twins here. He looks like a baseball playing Nicolas Cage. Like I don't know what it is about him. Maybe it's because I was just watching Raising Arizona, so there's like a young Nick Cage in my mind right now. But he continued a strong month for the A's. 4 August starts. He's pitched 25 and 2/3 innings, just 16 hits and 2 earned runs, and the Twins had both.
Oof, way to go, Twins, I guess. And just on those solo homers?
On those solo shots, that was it. Rookie Nick Kurtz is kind of the reason to go to Target Field in this series, I think. He's one of those guys I think you want to watch. He goes 3 for 3, 2 walks, gets on base every time he comes up. And then it's game 2, which you like to use this phrase, if you're going to watch one game from this series from a baseball standpoint, it's this one.
Yeah.
But there was still a lot of bad baseball in this one.
This was so rough, Dan, because I stayed up to watch this one after the kids went to bed. And I'm getting a little frustrated because I even though I'm fast forwarding the commercials, I'm going through the middle innings, I'm still frustrated that like the Twins have so many opportunities in this game, Dan. So a better Twins team wins this game. You have by 5 runs. I think by 8 or 9 runs, honestly, Dan. They finished 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. Every single time people were on base, they could not get the ball out of the infield. It drove me insane, Dan. I'm watching this, and it's sort of, I'm to the point in this game particularly where I just expected them to fail. But it's like, and even at times, Dan, they have the guys who are supposed to be the guys at this point, who are supposed to step up, who are supposed to drive runs in at the plate, and they're not getting it done to start fitting into those shoes, Dan.
Yeah, we're looking for the guys like Lee, Keishall, Wallner. We're looking for them to earn these spots for next season, and they didn't really do it in this series. Bailey Ober's on the mound. He pitches well. We hear a lot about his velocity, and I think it was a little bit down in this start, and I think that's just going to be a concern the rest of the year. I do wonder at some point if they just shut him down.
Yeah.
Maybe when some of the guys like SWR come back, or Pablo Lopez, who I believe did a rehab start this week too.
Yes.
So promising there. But Ober goes 5 and 2/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk. I mean, that's a pretty good line. 7 strikeouts. Twins get both runs in the 5th on a pair of 2-out hits. This is those clutch hits we're talking about by Larnach and Lee. It's 2-0. Lee's was a nice double to the gap. And then the bottom 8th we're going to come back to. This was one of those wasted moments here where I would argue the Twins should have won this game then, but they don't. Top of the 10th, Shea Langoliers, another one of those great A's players, hit the 2-run home run. It's 4-2, and the Twins in the 10th get a couple guys on, but don't score. And the final out is a fly out to right by Austin Martin. You know, what's funny about that is I feel like I am often talking about his speed too. So I think that's starting to work on a couple. Not to toot my own sounder horn. Which I
I think I told you this off air that my brother says that he came up with the idea for that sounder. He's convinced
because he took away one letter out of Martin's first name and then sounder.
I'm not saying it's the most clever sounder. He just wanted it to be known that he feels that he was the one who came up with it. I think it's what
Brother Dan. All right, Brother Dan. I'll give you that
yes.
one.
Anyway,
then there's game 3, David. A's win this one 8-3. I'm back at school, so I'm not able to watch these day games so easily. I know you Minnesotans back there who are still living there. You know, you don't have to go back till after the Labor Day because of the fair, right?
Yeah.
That's the rule. But I'm back, and I didn't miss much. Jose Urena gets the start here. He goes 5 innings, but a rough second when he allows 6 runs. Nick Kurtz homers later. He goes 2 for 4. Boosts his average to 315 and his OPS to 1,054. Pretty remarkable. The Twins do get a couple runs in the 4th on a bases-loaded hit by James Outman and another one by Austin Martin. And then I got to so Royce Lewis obviously had that great year, that great month and a half stretch, right, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
He came up in that inning with the bases loaded and popped out. Now, he's actually been okay with the bases loaded this year. He's just not hitting home runs. He's 3 for 6 in the bases loaded situations this year with a couple walks, but no homers. But where he's really hurt is runners in scoring position. He's just 14 for 64 this year. And just for comparison, in 2023, he was 6 for 11 with the bases loaded with 4 grand slams. Just insane. And then 25 for 65 with runners in scoring position. So 11 more hits and about the same amount, 43 RBI. So I think that's one way to just encapsulate what we're missing from Royce really is those big hits.
He's had a lot of missteps, Dan, off the field as well. Not like with like getting into trouble or like breaking laws or anything, but just saying some stuff that if read in black and white as opposed to like hearing the tone and stuff, don't come off very well. And for a guy who's not performing exceptionally at this point, you got to be way more careful with your language, and I don't know that Royce is that guy. So I'm hoping that his play on the field elevates, and that leads to maybe less frustrated comments in the postgame. But like even in this one, in the bottom 9, Lewis had an RBI double. It was almost caught by Soderstrom, but it turned out it kind of bounced off him and then the wall before he caught it. So I mean, kudos to Royce for getting on base somehow, right?
Well, and you brought up, Royce's kind of missteps. If you have your own missteps with your internet, if that's just not working for you, you should go check out the new high-speed internet sheriff in town. Gateway Fiber has landed in Blaine, Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Coon Rapids, Maple Grove, and Plymouth, with plans to expand deeper into Minnesota. Gateway Fiber boasts a fiber optic network that exceeds the capabilities of some of the biggest players in the business, giving you more whiz for less cost for all your online working, streaming, and gaming. With no hidden fees, no data caps, no installation fees, Gateway Fiber is perfect for your home or business. Go to gatewayfiber.com to get fast, reliable, and affordable high-speed fiber internet.
Catch 'em all, Kirby Puckett!
Puckett's Picks winner.
This is one of the few times, Dan, where I'm kind of bummed that I won. Because, like, I want to see this go to the end with you and Hogs, or the listeners and Hogs, or you and Hogs and the listeners all battling for the victory. And I'm just so far down, Dan, that I would have to go on a remarkable run to bounce back. But I get the victory here with Brooks Lee.
He had 11 points, which was also the team high. Luke Keyshaw was Hoag's pick. He had 4. I picked Royce, who had 2. The listeners went with Buxton, who is in a bit of a schneid right now. He had -2 points. I wouldn't say you're that far. If the listeners are still in this, David, you're right there. Hoag's has 15 points. I have 14. Listeners have 10.5. You got that half-point bonus. You're right there with 10 points, David. There's 11 series left. You win 3 of them. You're right back in.
I suppose that's reasonable, Dan. It's not crazy to think it could happen. But I have learned this season, Dan, being optimistic does not always pay off.
Beast versus Bench.
Is losing fun? Is losing fun?
Well, I got to go with Lee. Traditionally, I have to.
My back!
Yeah, 4 for 10, 2 RBI, 2 walks, seeing the ball really well. It didn't seem like in any of the at-bats he took in this series was the sort of half-hearted swinging at anything sort of at-bats. And when he's on it, Dan, he looks good. And we're not done talking about Brooks Lee here. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. But who do you have as your beast, Dan?
I went with Bailey Ober for his good start in Game 2, for getting out there and just trying to give the Twins some innings here. Again, I think it's probably he deserves to just be shut down, I think, for what he's been dealing with his ailments and things like that. So I applaud him for that. As for my bench, I went with a guy we haven't really mentioned at all this episode, and that's kind of why. I'm going with Eddie Julian.
Oh, Canada.
I'm going to start calling him Mr. Irrelevant. He was 0 for 1 in this series. He was like a late sub in Game 3, but this guy needs to be doing more to earn his spot.
I don't know that he can do more, Dan. I don't know. Like, he's been sort of gifted this opportunity because of the moves at the deadline. And if he's not going to seize it, I don't know. Do you bring Miranda up and say, well, okay, if Eddie is for sure kind of a dud, let's give Jose a chance. And as long as you keep him away from the water bottles, he should be fine, Dan.
I am not throwing away my shot.
We haven't got to play that much. I do like Jose Miranda. I wish he was better. I like all of them. I wish they were all better, but they're just not. Your bench, sir?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Byron Buxton. 0 for 12 with 2 Ks and 1 walk. Like, have the Pohlads managed, Dan, to even kill the spirit of Byron Buxton? Is that what's happening here?
Have you no joy in your life? Is there no song in your heart?
I think they may have. I mean, you can't blame the guy, right? Maybe they should shut them all down, David, right? Just shut down all the guys that you want for next year, and you bring everybody else up, and you just say, fine, guys, like, fight it out.
Dan, they brought everybody else up already. Like, what are you supposed to... Dan's wanting some sort of Mortal Kombat thing where we're bringing up the AA guys to play the AAA guys, and...
I was thinking more like in band, when, like, the third chair challenges the second chair to kind of, like, move their way up.
That's less drastic, certainly.
A little less violent, I think.
Sorry, Mortal Kombat is on my mind because I was talking about the latest version of that movie, and I don't know if you've seen it, Dan. Not a good movie. I have not. It's so bad. But so here's the thing. You go into it and you're thinking this is going to be a bad movie. Like, you just know it. But like, it's about the video game. Like, you're not really there because you think, oh, this plot is going to be, you know. But it's so upsetting because the first like 8 minutes of the movie, it's set in feudal Japan, and there's like the acting is phenomenal, and there's a scene between the husband and his wife and his kid, and then he's fighting off these warriors who are there, and it's all like there's subtitles because it's actually spoken in Japanese, and you're thinking, is this movie going to be good? And like, you get super pumped and you're like, I can't believe it. Did they make a good movie about a video game? And then it shoots forward like 2,000 years or whatever, right? And the acting has regressed so terribly, Dan, in this fictional timeline. It was so frustrating to like be given that hope that this could be a good movie, just to have them dashed. And had I not had that hope at all, Dan, it would have been better to watch that movie.
Don't give me hope.
Where did we go with that? I don't know how we got to Mortal Kombat.
Ogres are like onions.
Was that your bench? Are we done? We're moving on to the next segment now?
Let's go to Rocco's Rewind.
Rocco's Rewind.
I understand pulling Ober at 82 pitches. I do think if this team was competitive and he was healthy, I think you leave him in here at 82 and you see how far he can get. But right now, I get it, but your better chance to win this game is leaving Bailey Ober in, even with 2 guys on, as opposed to bringing in Funderburk. To be fair, Funderburk got the job done. So I like to point these situations out, though, so it's not like we're always correcting him with hindsight. But what I would have done in that scenario, if Bailey is truly healthy, I would have let him get out of that himself, especially kind of work through these things towards the end of the season. But since, as you've mentioned previously, he's probably not 100%, I understand that the early hook here, even though he probably could have finished off that inning.
He also, I think he threw a complete game against the A's a couple years ago. He was super efficient. So this is obviously a team he knows well. I'm going to go just a little bit later. Game 2, bottom of the 8th. I'm kind of picking up your mantle here. So the Twins get Lee and Keyshaw on with nobody out. And Rocco decides to pinch run Austin Martin for Brooks Lee.
Yeah.
I get that he's faster, but like you said, we're talking maybe a pace faster here. If you're going from second to home, you're probably, or you have to be prepared for the eventuality of playing extra innings, or maybe even needing Brooks Lee in the bottom of the 9th. He's your walk-off guy, right? He's got 3 walk-off hits already. This is not a strategy that you need to follow here, Rocco. Let Lee play. I mean, he's maybe your best player right now. He's certainly one of your leaders on defense. So I just think you got to just let him go. And as it turns out, Lewis, Jeffers, and Wallner go down in order, and so nothing happens, and then they lose this game later. And actually, the last out of the game was with Austin Martin up at the plate. So you got to think, I'd rather have Lee there.
Who would have guessed, Dan, that pulling Brooks Lee early, it's not like we had a whole segment last episode about this very thing. And he did it again, Dan. He must, either he's a listener and he's trolling us, or he's just not a listener. I hope it's whatever the one is where he's trolling us. I like that. Yeah, it'd be more fun that way for sure.
All right, let's go on to the Minnesota moment.
Minnesota moment.
Well, Clemens' game 1 error was just a bummer. I think to me, it pinned Joe Ryan with these runs. You want to win game 1. You want to win when your ace is on the mound. Your all-star pitcher is on the mound. And so that was just kind of a buzzkill, I suppose, for the rest of the series. Also, Cody Clemens, this is your chance, man. Like everybody else here, this is your chance to earn a job next year, and that doesn't do it very well when you're making errors at first base.
Correct. Also, we didn't mention it, but the Jose Urena throw to first, continuing the traditional Twins pitchers unable to throw to first. Classic.
He's fitting right in
pitcher.
with everybody else there.
Well, I guess, no, it's sort of a new era because there's no one else to fit in with, Dan. Okay, if you'll indulge me, Dan, if you'll allow me.
I will.
Okay, thank you. So I was at the fair today, and we saw a group at the band shell. This is my favorite thing about the fair is I love going to all the different music acts, like local folks, and you're kind of seeing people you haven't heard of before necessarily. And we go to this jazz group at the band shell, Davina and the Vagabonds, Dan. And I grew up through high school. I played in the jazz band and things like that. And I appreciate jazz music, especially when it's really well done. And this woman can sing. And to take it a little further, I used to work at the Dock Cafe, right? I worked in the restaurant, and what I really loved often was the mornings when we were getting ready to open the restaurant and the evenings when we were closing the restaurant down. And often when I was closing the restaurant or wiping down the kitchen and all that, I would play Etta James, one of my favorite singers ever. And so Etta James has a song. Dan, I don't know if you're familiar with Etta James much, but she has a song called I'd Rather Go Blind. And what the song is about her seeing a man that she's interested, basically falling for another woman and seeing it happen right before her eyes. And so she'd rather go blind. And this Davina woman at the piano, Dan, if you ever have seen a singer who is singing with such feeling because they believe the words that they're singing, she's in it, and she's very talented, and she has tears coming out of her eyes. We're at the state fair, Dan, playing at the band shell, but she is so in this song, and it's just so heartbreaking. She has tears coming down her face. And I think about this, Dan, and I think as baseball fans, we need to admit that the way we feel about baseball can be that deep and meaningful to us because we're so passionate about this team in particular. And I just look at the ownership, Dan, and I look at the way that they've sort of just dismantled this franchise and just destroyed this fan base and the morale that we had after 2023. And Dan, I'd rather go blind than watch this team that I love take another hit this offseason when they're going to trade Lopez and they're going to trade Ryan and they're going to trade Ober. It's very hard to see. And I just can't believe in my heart of hearts that the Pohlad family feels about this Twins team the way that every passionate Minnesota Twins fan feels. And they don't feel the hurt that we experience when they do this to a franchise that is so beloved.
Fans want an ejection. There it goes.
And that was Gardy's gripe.
I don't think that all fits on a sign at Target Field, but I think if the Pohlads heard that speech, I think they'd just quietly usher you out of the stadium to insult them in such a way, David. That's a deep cut. It's a good cut, but that's a deep wound there into the Pohlads' hearts, I think.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me wander here, Dan.
No, that's good. I think you're not wrong, right? It is sad. I wish we had an ownership group for this team that was a lot like, I bring up the Padres a lot, or almost any other Major League Baseball owner I would prefer right now.
Yes, accurate. All right, well let's go here, Dan. Maurer's musings.
I just don't know how it can get any better.
Maurer's musings.
We've talked a lot about Lee, and there is a silver lining, I think, to Correa moving on. Maybe a few, actually, now that we've come to find out. And
Why are you so obsessed with me?
Do you know that he was one of the few guys to stand up during a players-only meeting and talk about playing the baseball the way we know how and stuff? And it is fun to watch his stats drop as the season continues. Dan. But anyway, there's something to be said about clearing the path for Lee to be the everyday starting shortstop. And I was looking, and he's under contract through 27. Dan, is the sample size large enough now? Are you willing to sign on to Brooks Lee being your shortstop for the next 3 seasons?
I think if it's not a giant deal, the issue here is that you got Kalen Culpepper coming up, and he plays shortstop, and he plays a pretty good shortstop. Now, you can always move shortstops to other positions. Apparently, Correa wanted to be, and he stayed for the good of the team somehow. My worry, though, is he hasn't really, and I think Aaron Gleeman said this well in one of his mailbags or an article recently, Lee's not that great with the bat. He's good in the field, and I like the guy, and I think he can be a competent shortstop, but I don't know, I'm not sure he's going to be an all-star shortstop. But is that enough to sign him? I mean, on a bridge deal for 3 years, and then if he pops, then great. But if not, you can do much worse than Brooks Lee playing shortstop for your baseball team.
Agreed. What do you have here, Dan, for your musing?
Well, it's related. So and this is a big if right after the ownership bit there. If you could add one positional free agent next season, where on the field would you want it to be?
It's so hard when it's just one. And we're talking, I have to choose either a pitcher or a positional player?
No. Pitchers, because we know they need relief pitchers in theory. But
okay, so
out
just
of the other 8 guys out in the field, who would you pick? What spot?
It's messy. Because you have to look at the guys at AAA who could potentially contribute next season. But I think if you could just bring in one person, you need someone to provide offensive pop. I think you need a right-handed hitting corner outfielder. That's what you need. Or honestly, a permanent DH who just hits the ball. If you can bring me Nelson Cruz of 2019, I'll take Nelson Cruz of 2019.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're dead on, because that's what they're missing. I get the desire to rotate the DH around. That's great. That has its place. But a guy who can hit 25, 30 home runs here and have an OPS close to 800, if you can slot him in every time. Now,
yes,
maybe that's what's going to happen. They're going to maybe move Matt Wallner over there, who, I mean, they seem to have no intention of having Matt Wallner play right field if they can avoid it late in competitive games, right?
Yes.
I mean, he's the weak link out there. I'm curious to see if they even do bother to add anybody or if they just go internal options. But if they do have an external option, I do want it to be a DH. I agree with you.
All right, well, let's keep pushing here, Dan. Time to grade this series.
Series grades.
It's an F. But, I mean, I guess they're trying, I think, maybe. But they aren't a good baseball team playing poorly at this point. They're an inexperienced baseball team who hasn't figured it out, and hopefully they will. But, I mean, you still can't give them, they need to be focused on improvement at this point, and they just didn't do enough. Especially Game 2 is honestly where the thrust of this F is coming from. Get a hit when you got guys on base. Get the ball out of the infield. at least plate a couple runs, Dan.
I think this is another reason why I would say you do need to bring in some kind of a veteran player, because I think there's just suddenly a lot of young guys, aside from Byron Buxton, who really kind of need someone. And you trade away Harrison Bader, you trade away Willie Castro to some degree. I mean, like, you don't have those guys left.
Yeah.
My grade is low, obviously, too. Momentum a -2. This is as bad as it gets, really, in this situation. Decision making, I think, is 0. I think this was on the players more than it was anything that the Rocco did, or choices to send or not send guys. The older guys did not perform very well in this series. I gave them a -2. And the younger guys, I thought, held their own. Keeshaw's holding it together here. Lee's playing pretty well, but that's still a 0 on the pendulum. It maths out to an 8 out of 20. Just really hard to get a good grade when you lose a series in this manner.
Speaking of manners, Dan, if there's ever a time when you can let your kids sort of lose their ability to use manners appropriately, it's on the boat, right? I mean, you're just enjoying yourself. You're having a couple of drinks. Let the kids let it all hang out, Dan. And I can tell when I meet someone new, if they haven't been launched off an inner tube at high speeds behind a boat, they didn't grow up in the land of 10,000 lakes. But good news, our new sponsor, Rave Sports, has all the water toys to upgrade your lake lifestyle. Whether you're looking to give the kids the ride of their lives on one of Rave's state-of-the-art hypertubes, chill out on the 4-person Big Easy, or get a workout in on the inflatable Coda paddleboard, Rave Sports has your lake life covered. Make memories and make it the best summer ever at ravesports.com. And don't forget to use promo code Pulltab for 20% off your order. Rave Sports, make waves.
I don't know, Jack. It looked like Herbeck pulled him off the bag.
Herbie's headlines.
Well, Dan, if you haven't been following baseball news, you know that Rob Manfred has floated all of these realignment ideas. And I don't know, there's probably 6 dozen articles out there about potential ways.
It really took off. I mean, like, everybody's got a realignment strategy now, or a proposal here. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
So I think one thing I'd say consistency across the board, though, is everybody wants Boston, New York, Philadelphia. That's what it seems that everybody is really certain of. That's what needs to happen on the Eastern Seaboard. And the Twins actually, the biggest dividing line is whether or not the Chicago teams are part of the division with the Twins, or whether they do this sort of this northern side of things where it's the Twins, the Brewers, Detroit, and Toronto. And I guess I don't know how much I care. Do you have a strong feeling one way or another if they're going to sort of realign?
I just think this is a funny conversation for you to be leading, I think.
That's in North Dakota.
Fair point. But
you're drawing the map in your mind here. You're doing a very good job, by the way.
I'm looking at a picture, Dan, to be fair. I wasn't going to do this blind, let me tell you.
The part about this that I don't necessarily love, and it's probably the nostalgia in me, is I don't love tearing apart the AL and the NL and coming up with these different conferences this way. You can find lots of these out there. So I like the one that Stephen Nesbitt from The Athletic was putting together, and that was kind of his conceit, was that he didn't want to tear down the leagues. The best part of these is that the more that I look at this, the more that it makes sense to have an expansion in Portland or Salt Lake City, because they kind of need another team out west if they're going to make these work. So I like that from a geographic standpoint, being out west, because it's one more place to go. It's an easier place. I am sympathetic to the travel bit here too, and trying to minimize that for teams. So I am all for the geography being tighter. What he's got, I'll just read his off in the AL. He's got Seattle, Las Vegas, which would be in theory the Oakland Athletics whenever they get there, the LA Angels, and then either Portland or Salt Lake. He's got kind of a new division in the AL South is what he calls it, with Colorado, Texas, Houston, and Kansas City. And then he's got the North with Minnesota, Chicago, Detroit, and Cleveland. And then his East actually is basically what it is now minus Tampa, Toronto, New York, Boston, and Baltimore. The trade-offs are you keep the geography, well, I should say you keep some of those traditional league rivalries, but you do go away from, having, 3 series a year between the teams you mentioned out east, the Yankees and the Mets and the Phillies. I think that would be really cool. You think that's going to happen?
Too much money to be made, and especially with the way that LA is sort of shaping up, there's no way on earth, Dan, that they don't make that league happen, because there's so much potential for that to be appointment viewing for a lot of people. And can you imagine if the bad blood between the Yankees and the Red Sox is legendary? How many seasons until the bad blood between the Mets and the Yankees? Dan, you could have guys from Brooklyn throwing down with guys from Queens real quick. I think they're out on those streets.
I think that would be cool. Not the fighting part, but I think the rivalries part. I know.
I came ready to fight, but yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if this shakes out. We're still a number of years out, but I do think expansion makes sense. And as a schedule guy, 32 teams is way better than 30 in the league.
No question. Well, it's fantasy football season, right? How many leagues are you trying to organize?
True. That's true. That's true. Quite a few. You have one other note here. Mariners outfielder Victor Robles was suspended 10 games for throwing a bat at a minor league pitcher during a rehab stint. Speaking of violence, David.
It's not good. But, okay, first of all, shout out to John Boy Media for the breakdown of this. He's in a rehab stint, and he got hit like 3 times in his first 5 at-bats. So it's not like it was just he got hit once and he got really mad. He's like, I'm a professional baseball player at the major league level. Please stop hitting me.
Please attempt to be a gentleman.
Oh, man. One other note, Andrew Marchand at The Athletic reports that the MLB and ESPN have an agreement for them to sell all out-of-market and some in-market games. More confusion here, David, for how these contracts are going to work with Major League Baseball and these networks.
I read that article, and I still don't understand what he's trying to say. What I think it means is that, like, ESPN would sort of take ownership of the MLB TV. And then so they do all the out-of-market stuff.
Kind of like they've done, I think it's with the NHL, where you can get all of your NHL games through an ESPN Plus subscription.
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I would like it to be, we've talked about this, I'd like to be in one spot.
Yes.
But whether that's lucrative enough for the teams, you know, the more we read about the ownership stuff with the Twins, I think the more that we see that TV deal or the lack of it really is a factor, whether it's a real factor or whether it should be a factor or not. In the minds of at least the Pohlads, it is a factor. All right. The Twins are actually playing the only team in the AL with a worse record, the White Sox here. We're going to pick for that series.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Puckett's Picks.
Listeners believe in a bounce back, Dan, and then it goes to you, I guess.
That's right. I'm going with Keyshaw.
I have magic hair that glows when I sing.
My son actually just said to me before this, he said, Dad, that sounder should be, I have magic hair that glows when I swing.
Ooh,
and I thought that's a pun right there. That's my boy right there.
It's like a pun. It's a play on words.
There is no question. No question, Dan, that's your boy. Certainly. Hogs is going to pick Lee. Not surprising. Who do I have left here? Wow.
Well, there are other players, right?
Are there, though? Trevor Larnach. Let's go Larnach.
Hey.
Yeah, there's a name I haven't picked for a while. Let's see what happens. But
you know who we haven't picked much is Cody Clemens. For some reason, he's like, I'm sure you'll have the breakdown at the end of the season when we go over our Puckett's Picks data, but I'm excited to see that particular data point.
How many times he should have been picked because he won so often?
Exactly, yeah.
True story. All right, well, Dan, if you would, please send us out.
Well, folks, if you like what you hear, please tell a friend. You can follow us on X at Men for the Win. You can find our Men for the Win Facebook and Instagram pages. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast on your favorite platform so you're notified when new episodes are available. And if you could leave us a rating or like, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show further, you can find us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Twins. That'll wrap up another episode of Men for the Win, a podcast hosted by David Kufis and Dan Thompson, 2 avid fans who appreciate well-played baseball, especially when it's done by the Twins. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, go Twins.